What's up, gamers? Welcome back. It's been a while since I've made a video. I've been waiting for something to play. This is one of those games that just came out recently. It's exclusive on the PS4. It's called Until Dawn. The game itself is a horror slasher type of interactive movie game. So if you've played games such as Heavy Rain or Indigo Prophecy, it's sort of similar to that. Anyways, not to spoil the story too much for you guys that wants to experience it yourself, a short summary: the game takes place a year later when 8 teenagers decided to revisit a cabin where an incident took place to celebrate the event or anniversary for their friend, when suddenly things go wrong when there's a killer on the loose. Now there's more to the story. You gotta play the game to check it out yourself to know more about it, or you can watch my playthrough, but the game also lasts as long as one night. Interestingly, the game itself fills the horror movie genre real well. There's a cabin in the woods, it's in a wooded area, there's a mine, and 8 teenagers. I mean, you can't go any more cliche than that, but it does a really good job at that. But what's more interesting is the fact that the graphics of the game and the setting is really, really nice. Now again, when I say nice, I'm mentioning the details to the environments in the game. It's snowy, the backdrops are nice, the wooded areas, the mines, everything about it is very, very well done. Which brings me to my first review element of the game, which is the graphics. So if you've seen the graphics to the game, it looks amazing on the PS4. There are certain elements of the game where they push the graphics too hard. I've played it on 2 PS4s to see if this happens. It slows down the FPS of the game, which is during the snowy weather and a lot of things happening at once. So they really push the graphics of the game. Keep in mind also that it's very minuscule. This part, the chugging and stuff like that, only happens during the certain part at the beginning of the game. Could be a bug, could be something they'll fix out later on, who knows. But other than that, everything else later on in the game worked perfectly fine.
Sam, hey, you made it.
And of course, the details to the characters are really nice too, because each of the characters are played by real-life actors. So if you know them or heard of them, you can actually see that the characters are made up, but they look exactly like the actors themselves. So it's really interesting to see the actors play their role out really, really well in the game. Each of the characters have their own little bit of introduction that tells you a little bit of who they are and what they care about. The sound and the dialogue of the game is really well done. There are certain times where it gets a bit cheesy with the dialogue, and there are certain times it breaks the fourth wall, but overall it is really nicely done, and the narration is really good in the direction it took for the game. But the thing I love the most is the sound of the game when it plays music at the right time. Just like in horror movies, when things are about to happen or things might be happening, it just gives you a tense feeling at certain times in the game at the right moment. So I love the cue on the sound, and I love the way the dialogue is later on in the game. And in the beginning, I felt it was a little bit cheesy at times, but overall, it wasn't too bad. The next thing I'll talk about is the control and gameplay of the game. The controls of the game is really nicely done. On the right thumbstick, you can actually move your character's head around and look around, and then on the left, you can move a light around, or a flashlight, or a lighter, whatever you have in your hand at the time. Now, the thing I want to mention is that the camera in the game is fixed, so you can't really move the camera wherever you want. The thing about this is that certain games, they really mess up the elements of where characters enter from a certain direction and your control would veer off in the wrong direction. Now those little details really gets to me, but this game does it right because they actually don't do that. So when you're moving to the right, the camera goes behind them, they're still going straight, which is what I really like about this game, and a lot of games do that wrong. Which leads me to my next topic of the game, which is the gameplay of the game. Now, the gameplay of the game revolves around certain elements. There's the element of controlling each character's perspective and also being able to move them around, look for clues, etc. There is also the elements of choosing choices. As you know, this is a choice interactive game, so there's going to be a choice on screen, usually 3. You can choose a left choice, or right choice, or sometimes just do nothing about the choices, and that's a choice in itself. There is also shooting in the game. There are certain elements where you have to use a gun in the game, and of course it isn't complex in its gameplay. What you do is all you have to do is move your cursor or to the reticle that appears and shoot. You can do this by just spamming the button and just moving it around and eventually hit that choice, but there is shooting in the game. Unfortunately, it's just very, very, very basic. The other thing, the final thing, is that there is also what interactive movie game, of course, wouldn't do without QTEs. The QTEs are affected by your choice. Sometimes they're fast and sometimes they're slow, depending on your choices, but sometimes time is of the essence, so a character's survival might depend on your choice and also your QTEs. Finally, the gimmick behind the game. You know, all games have a gimmick. In this game, it would be the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect affects the game narration. Depending on the clues you find in the game, the characters react a certain way. If you pick a certain choice in the game and you react to a certain character in the wrong way, things might happen, event might unfold. The narration and the direction it take might go a completely different way with two characters, or something might happen. The meaning of life and death really depends on the choices you pick in this game. And yes, the characters do die in this game, and they die in a really grotesque way. So the choices are really interesting for a lot of playthroughs. If you do a different choice throughout the game, you'll get different outcomes, different narration. But however, the game main storyline itself stays on track, and it finishes from the beginning to end. So it doesn't just veer off in a different direction where, you know, you're going to the mines or you're going to this cabin, but you're not just going to end up at the ocean just because you picked this choice. You're still going in that direction. You know, just the outcome is changed in the narration, which is pretty nice for this game and adds a little bit of replayability to it. Which brings me to the final part of my review, which is the replayability of the game. A lot of you guys have been messaging me about this game and saying, hey, is this game worth picking up? Is it worth $60? You know, and I understand some of you guys out there are students, or $60 is a lot to you guys, and $60 is all you got. Of course, with all the upcoming games and stuff, I mean, there's a lot of choices to pick. The game itself, I've honestly played only 3 times. I'm not going to play it again because I got the outcome I wanted, which was to keep everyone alive. I'll definitely throw that playthrough up for you guys to watch, but overall, the thing about this is that the game is great. You know, I said some great things about it, but I definitely took into consideration your comments and your question about the game. So for those of you guys out there that are looking for a great game to pick up to add to your library as a collector, for me, definitely worth it. But if you're spending $60 and that's all you have with the amount of games coming out in the next few months, you might want to save it because you're looking for gameplay in the long run and a game that you can spend a long time on. That's my honest opinion for you guys. If you're looking for something that you can continuously go back to and enjoy, then this is probably not the game for you because you'll probably enjoy it a few times and then get dulled out in the long run. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Remember to hit subscribe and like. You know, it's been a while since I've made a video. Tonight we're going to work on Mad Max. I got some Metal Gear Phantom Pain coming tomorrow, and other games that I can't wait to tell you about. Unfortunately, I am locked down on terms and services and the NDA, so I can't talk about them too much, but look forward to it. Until next time, game on.